Evolution sent me this 18V cordless circular saw to review. It's the R165CCS-Li. It's got a maximum cut of 55mm vertically and 36mm at 45 degrees. It can cut from 0 to 50 degrees bevel. A maximum capacity of 3mm if you cut in mild steel. Has a no load speed of 4,600 RPM and it weighs 3.5 kilograms without the battery. As you can see, it's a 165mm blade with a 20mm bore. So this is a piece of 4x2 with some screws screwed in it. So there we go, no problem at all with that. Now I'll go through it without the nails. This is quite a common way that people use to cut a 90-degree angle with a circular saw, but unfortunately the motor is too low down for me to use this set square for doing that. Particle board, I'm going to try using the notch on the 0 here to cut along this straight line freehand. No problem with that. 48 inches, so it's 4 foot wide. I'm just going to cut a length off this to show you that you can actually cut 8x4 boards with it. So I'm going to put the parallel edge guide on for this. I'm going to clamp it there, so I'm only going to take a thin strip off. Problem that I've got is the clamp has stopped it at the other end. I'll just move it slightly. So there we go. You know, parallel edge guards are something I never really use, but that is impressive. I'm quite impressed with that. You could quite easily use that on a site somewhere without any problems at all. This piece of wood was in my waste wood bin. And what I'm going to do is just cut it across there because I can actually use this for a CCTV camera stand. That's the sort of thing that this thing will be ideal for. You don't need a power supply, you just pick up the circular saw and away you go. So I'm just going to actually cut the end off this. And now I've got a piece of wood that I can work with. So next I'm going to cut some 3mm box section. So you need to make sure when you're cutting with this that you don't put any lateral pressure on the saw, because that stopped when I was cutting in the middle there because I was putting a little bit of sideways pressure on, and that doesn't help it at all. It will actually just stop the thing from cutting. Aluminium pipe. Plastic piping. No problem with that at all. Actually a very nice clean cut. A quick look at the box. Remember, you can pause the video if you want to take a closer look. Inside the box, along with the saw, we've got a set of instructions, the blade, a hose adapter for the dust port, and a straight edge guide. So if I flip the saw over, you can see there's also an Allen key that's secured on the saw. That is used for changing the blade. So what I'm going to do now is fit the blade, and if I do this, you'll notice that Evolution have designed this saw so that it will stand on the motor. Make sure there's no battery in the saw, very important. Just there is the arbor locking button. You press that in to lock the arbor so that you can change the blade. So the next thing you need to notice is there's direction of rotation shown on the body of the saw there, also on the blade guard, and then on the saw blade itself we've also got a direction of rotation. Pressing the arbor lock, turn the Allen key to slacken off the bolt. Unscrew that by hand. Underneath that there is a washer, so that's the side that faces the outside. Just in case you make a mistake and pull this off, get the blade, see how that's a nice snug fit? This is a side that faces the outside of the saw. Both washers have got flats machined on both sides, so they'll only go on the arbor if the flats are lined up properly. That's the correct orientation. You've got to pull the blade guard back and then slide the blade up onto the arbor, making sure it goes inside the blade guard like so. Let that blade guard go and that will protect your fingers. So remember, this goes with a convex side on the outside, that goes on there, and again if I turn it, look, you'll see it can't turn. Next we put the bolts in and screw that down, press down the arbor locking button and then tighten it, and it needs to be tight but not over tight. So that's the blade fitted. I'll put the Allen key back where it belongs because that should stay on the saw all the time. The battery fits in the back of the circular saw, it just slides down and clicks into place. Now this is a 4 amp hour battery. It normally ships with the 4 amp hour battery if you buy the loaded version. But you can get bigger batteries for it. I personally think the 4 amp battery will be absolutely fine. It's a soft start, and you'll also notice it's got an electronic brake. Now that is a really good safety feature. The saw comes with a safety button that's designed for left or right handed use. You need to press that button in before you can pull the trigger. On the left hand side of the saw behind the motor there is a toggle clamp there. That allows you to set the depth of cut. There is a graduated scale if you look in between the handle and the body there. So there you can see the depth scale. That is the datum point on the saw, and it's graduated 5 to 55 millimeters. So on the front of the saw there's another toggle clamp which allows you to set the bevel angle from 0 to 50 degrees. And as you can see there's a scale there so that you can set it accurately for whichever angle you want. There's a convenient little toggle on the blade guard as well so that you can lift that up manually before you make the cut if you want to. It's got nice rubberized grips and it's very firm to grasp, and it's very ergonomic as well. I like the way that's been designed. If you want to connect a shop vac, then the shop vac hose adapter just slots on there, and you can see there are different diameters there, so that allows for different diameters of hoses. The parallel edge guide, or straight edge guide as I like to call it, slots through there all the way through to the other side, and you can set the distance away from the blade. Notice it goes under so that you can get very close to the blade itself, and then it just clamps with this screw here. On the front of the saw you can see there's a graduated scale with 2 notches. It's 0 to 80 millimeters. The 0 actually starts in the center of this notch on the left hand side, and if you find that it's not calibrated properly you can slide that backwards and forwards by slackening these 2 screws. But I want to talk about the 2 notches. So as you can see we've got 1 notch with a 0 next to it and 1 notch with a 45. The 0 is there for if you actually want to cut freehand along a pencil line. You put the pencil line in the center of this notch, and then that will be where the blade is cutting, so that you can actually judge where to place the saw before you start the cut and follow the line. And the same goes for the 45. So if you're cutting a bevel angle, then you use a notch with the 45 next to it. So the line should be in the center of that notch. Having a cordless tool just means that you can take it anywhere. So if you're going round to a friend's house and that you don't know what the setup is, you don't know where the nearest socket is, well, sockets are irrelevant when you've got a cordless tool. So I think the portability just makes this thing absolutely brilliant. Being able to pick it up, sling it in the boot, go and do a job, it's absolutely perfect for that. The fact it will cut 4x2 will please a lot of people as well if you're working on a building site. 4x2 is something that is commonly cut out and about on a work site. So it will cut 4x2. Not much more than that though with a 55mm cut. It's fine for cutting sheet materials, and obviously if you clamp a straight line it's going to be even better. But I must say that that parallel guide really impressed me. I was not expecting it to do as good a job as it did. So that's quite handy if you don't have anything to actually lay on a piece of sheet material. You can just use the parallel guide if it'll reach, and it will do a reasonable job. So I hope you found this review useful. I am glad that Evolution asked me to review this. Please take care out there, and thank you very much for watching.